Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Star Wars channel. I'm so glad you've drifted into this quiet corner of the galaxy tonight. Maybe it's been a long day in your own star system. Maybe your thoughts feel like ships caught in hyperspace, moving just a little too fast. But there's nothing you need to do now except soften, breathe, and let go. Let your shoulders ease, your breath settle, and your mind become as calm as the surface of a moonlit lake. Because tonight, we're not merely falling asleep. We're journeying into the ancient past of Mandalore, into legends shaped by Beskar and belief, into the quiet resilience of a people who have walked through fire and still risen again. From the first whispered creeds to the forging of shining armor, from wandering clans to the return of a united homeworld. This is your peaceful voyage through Mandalorian history. So rest your eyes, open your heart to the gentle hum of the galaxy, and may the Force be with you, always. 1. The first flame of Mandalore. In the earliest whispers of galactic memory, before maps charted the outer rim, a lone spark ignited on a distant world. This was the first flame of Mandalore, not a fire of destruction, but a symbol of a people learning to survive in a land both harsh and beautiful. The ancestors of the Mandalorians looked across dunes of white sand and jagged mountains carved by ancient winds, feeling the silent pull of a place that demanded strength and unity. They learned to walk with purpose, to build with resilience, and to dream with courage. And in the quiet nights beneath unfamiliar stars, their stories began to take shape. Legends carried in firelight. And from that first awakening, another chapter of Mandalorian destiny rose to meet the dawn. 2. The children of the Taung. Long before armored warriors patrolled the galaxy, the Taung walked beneath ash-filled skies. They were a proud, ancient species, shaped by hardship, forged in volcanic storms, and guided by a creed of endurance. When they left their original homeworld, they journeyed through the void like shadows drifting through starlight, seeking a place worthy of their spirit. Their arrival on Mandalore was not gentle. The world met them with fire, beasts, and a landscape that tested every breath. Yet the Taung did not turn away. Instead, they found purpose in the challenge and beauty in the unforgiving silence. Over generations, they shed their old identity and took on a new name, Mandalorians. And in their transformation, the galaxy gained a people whose legend would echo across millennia. 3. The naming of Mandalore. At the heart of their new beginning stood a single figure, Mandalore the First. He was not merely a conqueror, but a unifier, a warrior who shaped chaos into purpose. Under his leadership, the Taung forged a new society, defined not by species, but by creed. The world they claimed was named in his honor, and so too were all who followed his path. Mandalore became more than a title. It became a promise that each generation would carry strength with humility, protect the vulnerable, and honor the bonds that held them together. As the clans grew, Mandalore's name became the rhythm of their stories, a quiet heartbeat beneath every battle song. And in that steady pulse, another tale of Mandalorian heritage began to unfold. 4. The Great Migration. Across the stars, after claiming their new identity, the Mandalorians did not remain rooted in one place. Their hearts, shaped by ancient journeys, carried a quiet restlessness, a desire to explore the unknown edges of the galaxy. And so, guided by the memory of drifting through the void, they took to the stars once more. Their ships glided across hyperspace lanes like silver comets, leaving gentle trails of light behind them. Some sought resources, others adventure, and still others a deeper understanding of who they were becoming. Each world they touched offered lessons: resilience from frozen planets, patience from barren moons, and respect from places where nature reclaimed all intruders. And as they wandered, the Mandalorians discovered that home was not only a planet, but the shared journey between every star. 5. The sacred world of Mandalore. In time, all roads led back to Mandalore, a place both fragile and fierce, shaped by ancient battles and quiet seasons of rebuilding. Its surface, marked by pale deserts and shimmering glassy plains, held stories etched into every dune. Though harsh, the world became sacred to the Mandalorians, not for its comfort, but for its honesty. Mandalore never pretended to be gentle. It demanded strength, encouraged ingenuity, and rewarded those who faced its trials with steady hearts. Beneath the domed cities, families gathered around soft lights, telling tales of ancestors who braved storms and carved life from dust. Above them, the sky stretched endlessly, a constant reminder that even in adversity, beauty can be found. And in the hush of Mandalore's night winds, a deeper truth always lingered: that the world shaped its people as surely as they shaped it. 6. The Basilisk War era. Long before jetpacks lifted warriors into blue skies, Mandalorians soared on the backs of creatures few dared to approach. Basilisk war droids, part beast, part machine, thundered through battlefields like living storms. Though fearsome, these mounts were more than engines of war. They were symbols of trust between warrior and companion. Mandalorians tamed them not through cruelty, but through fearless presence and mutual respect. Those who rode a basilisk spoke of the deep, steady rhythm of its movements, like a heartbeat shared between partners. Beneath the roar of battle, they felt a strange peace, as though the universe held its breath before each descent. Even now, the memory of those riders drifts through Mandalorian lore, like an old song carried on the wind. And from those ancient bonds, the Mandalorian spirit of fearlessness found new wings. 7. The Age of Conquest. As Mandalorian culture strengthened, so too did their ambition to test themselves against the galaxy. The Age of Conquest began not with a roar, but with a quiet collective yearning, a desire to see what lay beyond the familiar dunes of home. Their fleets moved with purpose, gliding through the stars like drifting embers carried by a cosmic breeze. To outsiders, their advance looked like aggression, but to the Mandalorians, it was a pilgrimage of identity. Each new world was a lesson, each challenge a mirror revealing who they were and who they could become. Victories taught confidence, defeats taught wisdom, and all of it wove together into the tapestry of their evolving creed. And through every triumph and trial, the Mandalorians carried their silence, their discipline, and their unbroken resilience into the darkness ahead. 8. The 6 tenets of the Mandalorian Creed. Though their history was shaped by battles and long journeys, the Mandalorians understood that a warrior's heart must be anchored by principles. From this understanding grew the 6 tenets, ancient pillars that guided them like distant stars. Each tenet reminded them to stand with their clan, defend the innocent, honor their armor, and never forget the legacy passed from ancestor to descendant. These teachings were not shouted in halls or carved sharply into stone. They were whispered in the forge's glow, passed from mentor to foundling, and woven into the quiet rituals of daily life. In following the tenets, a Mandalorian found direction when paths grew uncertain, and strength when burdens grew heavy. And within each tenet, the force of their heritage shimmered softly, like starlight resting on Beskar. 9. The Mythosaur Legend. Among all Mandalorian legends, none is more enduring than the tale of the Mythosaur, a colossal ancient beast said to roam Mandalore in the world's earliest days. The creature was massive enough to shake mountains and strong enough to challenge the bravest hearts. Yet the story that endured was not of fear, but of courage, that the Mandalorians, guided by unity and resolve, tamed the untamable. Whether the Mythosaur still lives is a question carried gently from generation to generation. Some say it sleeps beneath the deep caverns, dreaming beneath ancient waters. Others believe its spirit lives within every Mandalorian who chooses bravery over despair. And in the quiet moments, when the desert winds fall still, some swear they can feel a deep, ancient heartbeat echoing beneath the sands, a promise that the legend is never truly gone. 10. The first Mandalorian armor. Long before Beskar became a word spoken with reverence across the galaxy, the earliest Mandalorians shaped their armor from whatever the land offered. Bone, leather, and scavenged metals were woven together by hands guided more by determination than technique. These first suits were uneven, imperfect, and heavy. Yet to the warriors who wore them, they carried profound meaning. Armor was not simply protection, it was identity. It marked the transition from wanderer to protector, from solitary fighter to member of a clan. Each plate told a story, a hunt survived, a lesson learned, a loved one honored. Over time, as the art of smithing grew, so too did the armor, evolving into the elegant, durable Beskar plates we recognize today. And in every modern suit, echoes of that humble beginning still linger like ancient whispers in the forge. 11. Clan foundations. In Mandalorian society, clans were more than family lines. They were anchors, holding individuals steady against the shifting tides of war and wandering. A clan could be born of blood, but just as often it was woven from loyalty, shared struggle, or the simple kindness of offering someone a place to belong. Beneath banners marked with sigils of beasts and symbols of honor, Mandalorians gathered to share food, stories, and purpose. Children grew up surrounded by protectors who shaped them through patience and example. Elders passed down wisdom etched into memory rather than books. Even those without homes found comfort in a clan's embrace, welcomed not for their origins, but for their courage. And in that unity, warm as a hidden hearth beneath the stars, the Mandalorians discovered one of their greatest strengths. 12. Color meanings in Mandalorian armor. To an untrained eye, Mandalorian armor might seem purely practical, a mosaic of metal plates built for survival. But within the pigments brushed softly across, Beskar lay stories deeper than any blade could carve. Each color carried intention. Blue spoke of loyalty. Green whispered of duty. Gold reflected a noble cause. Black honored justice. Red paid tribute to a fallen loved one. These hues were not chosen lightly. Warriors often spent long nights considering which path their armor should represent, painting with gentle strokes beneath the forge's glow. As battles came and went, the paint would chip, revealing layers of memory beneath, and every time a Mandalorian donned their armor, they carried not just protection, but purpose, a quiet reminder of the values guiding each step of their journey. 13. The art of the war chant. Before the clash of sabers and the roar of jetpacks, Mandalorian warriors often lifted their voices in low, rhythmic chants. These war chants were not meant to intimidate, but to unify, a steady heartbeat shared across a clan preparing to face the unknown. Their harmonies were deep and resonant, rising like mountain winds and falling like embers drifting through the night. Each chant carried a story, an ancestor's victory, a lesson learned in hardship, or a vow made beneath starlit skies. As warriors joined their voices, they felt the presence of generations standing behind them, guiding their courage. The chant held them together, breath by breath, step by step. And as the final notes faded into silence, even the galaxy seemed to pause, listening for what would unfold next. 14. Rituals of the Forge. To the Mandalorians, the Forge was a place of both creation and reflection, a sacred chamber where metal met fire and spirit met purpose. Here, the armorer guided apprentices through ancient techniques, each movement deliberate and graceful. Sparks drifted upward like tiny stars, illuminating faces bowed in concentration. Crafting armor was never rushed. Every strike of the hammer was a meditation, a reminder to pour intention into both weapon and shield. The forging of Beskar was especially revered, for the metal required patience and respect. As plates cooled, they were carried with quiet reverence, knowing they would one day shield a life. In the gentle glow of the forge, past and future intertwined, and a Mandalorian's path grew clearer, shaped by flame, guided by tradition. And from that warmth, the next story of endurance began to glow. 15. The birth of the Wrestle Nare. At the heart of Mandalorian identity lies the Wrestle Nar, 6 ancient actions that form the foundation of their way of life. These principles were not created in a single moment, but emerged slowly over generations, shaped by triumphs, losses, and the desire for unity. Honor your armor. Raise your children as Mandalorians. Defend your clan. Speak the language. Answer the call when summoned. And above all, live the creed. The Wrestle Nar is taught softly to foundlings, recited in whispers during times of doubt, and carried like an invisible shield by all who walk the Mandalorian path. It is less a rulebook and more a promise, a guiding star for those who seek purpose. And with that promise, the Mandalorian people found a compass pointing toward their future, steady and unwavering. 16. The Mandalorian Crusaders. As Mandalorian culture matured, a new generation of warriors emerged, those who would be known as the Mandalorian Crusaders. Their armor gleamed with bold shapes and ancient sigils, each piece crafted with reverence for the stories of their ancestors. These Crusaders traveled far beyond familiar borders, seeking challenges that would test their resolve and strengthen their unity. Though they were fierce, there was a solemn discipline to their purpose. They believed that through trial, the spirit became sharper, like metal shaped under a patient hammer. Their campaigns were long, their journeys arduous, yet their determination never wavered. The Crusaders left footprints across countless worlds, reminders of a culture refusing to stand still. And as they ventured deeper into the galaxy, destiny quietly prepared to intertwine their path with another powerful order. 17. The Jedi-Mandalorian Wars. There came a time when the Mandalorians encountered the Jedi, guardians of peace whose luminous blades contrasted starkly with Beskar and jetpacks. Their meeting sparked a conflict that would become one of the most legendary in galactic history. It was not born from hatred, but from two philosophies that moved like opposing currents. The Mandalorians sought challenge and honor. The Jedi sought balance and restraint. Battles stretched across star systems, filling the skies with streaks of light and fragments of ancient armor. Yet behind every clash was a quiet sense of respect, for both sides recognized the strength of the other. These wars shaped Mandalorian technology, pushing them to innovate, adapt, and learn. And when the dust finally settled, the galaxy had been forever changed, as though echoing the meeting of fire and wind. 18. The Fall of Ulic Qel-Droma. Among the many figures who crossed paths with Mandalorian history, few left a mark as deep as Ulic Qel-Droma, a Jedi Knight who fell to the darkness and found himself entangled in Mandalorian destiny. When he took command of their forces, the clans saw in him both brilliance and sorrow, a warrior guided by strength, yet shadowed by conflict within. Ulic's time with the Mandalorians was brief but transformative. He led them through victories, inspired their bravery, and unintentionally shaped the direction of their culture. Yet the pain of his downfall lingered like a somber note beneath the songs of war. His final moments were marked by regret, but also by a quiet return to truth. And as his story faded into legend, it left behind lessons whispered softly through Mandalorian generations, reminders of choices, consequences, and the fragile balance within every heart. 19. The Scorching of Mandalore. The Jedi-Mandalorian Wars left deep scars, but none more lasting than the Scorching of Mandalore, a moment when fire reshaped the very face of the world. In the final, desperate stages of conflict, the surface of the planet was ravaged by devastating weapons, turning once vibrant landscapes into pale, glassy deserts. Cities crumbled, forests vanished, and the sky dimmed beneath drifting ash. Yet in the midst of this destruction, the Mandalorians did what they had always done. They endured. Families gathered together, drawing strength from shared grief and the quiet resilience woven into their creed. Beneath the devastation, they found a new beginning, as though the world itself was offering a chance to rise again. And in the shimmering silence of the scorched plains, hope flickered softly, waiting to be rebuilt. 20. Life beneath the dome. Cities with the surface transformed into a harsh, wind-swept desert, the Mandalorians turned their eyes underground. Ingenious engineers and devoted clans constructed vast dome cities, sealed from the scorching winds and anchored deep beneath the white sands. These domes became sanctuaries of light and life, glowing gently against the stark landscape like lanterns guiding weary travelers home. Inside, children laughed in echoing corridors, artisans worked with steady hands, and warriors trained beneath artificial skies. Gardens grew in carefully tended patches, offering reminders of a world that once flourished under open sun. Though confined, the domes were filled with warmth, the warmth of community, of survival, of stories told around low-lit tables. And as Mandalore learned to breathe anew, its people discovered that home was not defined by the open sky, but by the hearts that gathered beneath it. 21. The Splintering of the Clans. Yet even in the shelter of the domes, unity proved fragile. Generations of hardship, conflicting ideals, and differing visions for Mandalore's future led to fractures among the clans. Some held fast to the ancient warrior ways, believing strength and honor were the path forward. Others sought diplomacy, rebuilding, and peace. A few walked a path between the two, searching for balance in the shifting sands. These divisions did not erase their shared heritage, but they created ripples that shaped Mandalorian society for centuries. Disagreements turned into rifts, and rifts grew into rivalries. Still, beneath the tension, a quiet truth remained. Every clan, no matter its differences, carried the same longing to see Mandalore rise, whole and strong. And from those hopes, another chapter began to weave itself into the tapestry of their history. 22. The rise of the Neo-Crusaders. As tensions deepened between clans, a new movement stepped out of the shadows of Mandalorian society, the Neo-Crusaders. Clad in armor of striking blue and rigid design, they sought to unify the fractured people under a single, uncompromising vision. Their leadership promised order, strength, and a return to the legendary power of Mandalore's ancient conquerors. To many, the Neo-Crusaders brought hope. To others, they brought fear. But above all, they brought change. Their discipline was unwavering, their structure absolute, and their influence spread across star systems like ripples moving through still water. Under their banner, Mandalorians marched once more, guided by a purpose that glowed as bright as forge fire. And in their rise, the galaxy sensed the beginning of another storm, one shaped by determination, destiny, and the echoes of old ambitions. 23. The Mandalorian Exiles. Not all Mandalorians chose to follow the Neo-Crusader path. Some resisted, some fled, and some quietly drifted away in search of gentler futures. These were the Mandalorian exiles, wanderers carrying their culture not on a single world, but within their hearts. Their ships became their homes, their armor their last reminder of the clans they once belonged to. Wherever they traveled, they brought traces of Mandalore's soul. The language, the customs, the unspoken bond that connected all who walked the warrior's path. Some found refuge among distant communities. Others raised children under unfamiliar stars, teaching them stories of a homeland they might never see. Yet even far from Mandalore's sands, their identity remained unbroken. And in the quiet solitude of space, the exiles kept the flame of tradition alive, a soft, enduring glow carried from generation to generation. 24. The rebuilding of Sundari. Amid division and exile, hope found a foothold in the rebuilding of Sundari, a magnificent domed city rising from the scorched plains like a polished jewel. Architects and workers from every clan gathered to shape its smooth, reflective halls and towering walkways. Inside, sunlight filtered through crystalline panels, filling the city with a warm, dreamlike glow. Sundari became a symbol of renewal, a place where art flourished, where children learned beside tranquil fountains, and where the weary found rest within the harmony of gentle, humming lights. Though conflict still simmered beyond its walls, Sundari offered Mandalorians a glimpse of what peace could feel like. Fragile, precious, and full of potential. And beneath its shining dome, the first quiet seeds of Mandalore's next era began to take root. 25. Pacifist Mandalore. In time, a rare and gentle chapter opened in Mandalorian history, guided by the soft-spoken wisdom of Duchess Satine Kryze. Under her leadership, Mandalore embraced a vision of peace, a bold departure from centuries of warrior tradition. Weapons were set aside, armor stored away, and the domed city shimmered with the quiet hum of renewal. Schools filled with laughter, markets bustled with color, and the rhythms of daily life slowed into something tender and hopeful. Though not all clans agreed with this pacifist path, many found comfort in its calmness. For the first time in generations, Mandalore felt like a world where children could grow without the shadow of war. The air seemed lighter, as if the planet itself exhaled in relief. And in that brief stillness, the promise of a gentler Mandalore flickered like a candle sheltered from the wind. 26. The New Mandalorian Movement. The pacifist era gave rise to the new Mandalorians, a group devoted to shaping a future grounded in diplomacy, culture, and learning. Their sleek architecture, elegant attire, and refined customs reflected a deep desire to move beyond conflict. They believed Mandalore could stand as a beacon of balance, proving that strength need not always be forged in battle. Within Sundari, the new Mandalorians curated art installations, held open discussions, and shared visions of a harmonious society. Many saw them as dreamers, others as idealists, and still others as courageous innovators. Yet despite their differences, they all shared one longing: to heal the scars left by centuries of war. And under their guidance, Mandalore glimmered with the fragile beauty of a world trying to redefine itself. Slowly, carefully, bravely. 27. The Shadow Collective's invasion. But peace, as always, stood on unsteady ground. From the edges of the galaxy came a storm. The Shadow Collective, led by the dark and relentless presence of Darth Maul. With ruthless precision, his forces infiltrated Mandalore, igniting fear in streets once filled with soft light. The domes trembled as armored warriors clashed, and the echoes of long silent battle cries returned to the air. The invasion fractured the new Mandalorian vision, pulling the planet back into the turbulence it had tried so hard to escape. Yet even in the midst of chaos, acts of quiet bravery blossomed. Citizens hid one another, clans offered protection, and resilience rose like a shield forged from unity. And as the Shadow Collective tightened its grip, Mandalore stood at the crossroads once again, its fate trembling between darkness and the determination of its people. 28. The Duel for the Throne. In the dim glow of Sundari's throne room, destiny took shape beneath archways of silver and shadows. There, the struggle for Mandalore's future crystallized into a single, unforgettable moment. A duel fought not just with weapons, but with ideals. Darth Maul and Pre Vizsla clashed in a storm of sparks and echoing strikes, their silhouettes framed by the quiet hum of the city beyond. The darksaber's obsidian blade cut arcs of light through the air, while ancient armor groaned under each powerful blow. Watching from the edge of conflict, Mandalorians held their breath, knowing that the outcome would ripple across their world. When the final strike fell, silence swallowed the chamber. And in that silence, the throne passed into unexpected hands, shifting Mandalore's story into darker, uncharted currents. 29. The Night of 1,000 Tears. Though Mandalore had endured hardship before, nothing prepared its people for the Night of 1,000 Tears. Under Imperial assault, the once bright domes shuddered beneath relentless bombardment. The sky glowed with streaks of fire, and the surface, already scarred from earlier wars, cracked under the weight of devastation. As explosions rolled across the plains, families fled into the labyrinths below, clutching one another in trembling silence. Armor was donned hastily, children were shielded by trembling arms, and prayers whispered in Mandoa filled the cold corridors. The air burned with the echoes of jetpack trails and the whir of merciless machines sweeping through the city. When the storm passed, Mandalore lay quiet, its beauty dimmed, its people scattered, its heart bruised but unbroken. And from the ashes, a determination to survive once more glimmered like embers, refusing to fade. 30. The Age of Imperial Rule. In the aftermath of that terrible night, the Empire seized control of Mandalore, imposing its heavy hand upon a culture that had endured countless storms. Occupation brought curfews, stripped freedoms, and the relentless search for every scrap of Beskar the planet still held. Clans were forced into hiding, some venturing deep underground, others fleeing across the stars in search of refuge. Yet beneath the oppression, the Mandalorian spirit remained unbroken. Quiet acts of resistance blossomed like small, stubborn flowers clinging to cracked stone. Families taught their children the creed in whispers. Warriors practiced in secret. Smiths hid fragments of Beskar beneath false floors and buried caches in forgotten caverns. Through all of this, the Mandalorians held fast to one truth: identity cannot be conquered. And in that quiet defiance, the first seeds of their eventual revival began to stir. 31. The significance of clan names. In Mandalorian culture, a clan name is more than a word. It is a living thread woven through generations. To speak one's clan aloud is to summon the memory of ancestors, their triumphs, their sacrifices, and the quiet moments that shaped their lives. Each name carries weight, like a soft echo resonating through time. When a child joins a clan, whether by birth or by oath, they inherit a story already in motion. Around firelit gatherings, elders share how their clan rose from hardship, how it stood firm during wars, and how it protected its people through the darkest nights. These stories become part of every warrior's heart. And so, a clan name is worn not only on armor plates, but deep within the spirit, a promise carried from one lifetime to the next. 32. House Vizsla. Among Mandalore's many houses, few have shaped its destiny as profoundly as House Vizsla. Bold, driven, and forged in ancient traditions, the Vizslas carried both great honor and deep complexity. Their emblem, the fierce shriek hawk, symbolized their sharp instincts and unyielding determination. Throughout Mandalorian history, members of this house rose to positions of power, their actions rippling far beyond the borders of their homeland. Tara Vizsla, the first Mandalorian Jedi, forged the legendary Darksaber, a blade that would influence Mandalore's fate for centuries. Later generations continued to wield influence, some as protectors, others as challengers to the status quo. Their path was not always peaceful, yet it was always guided by a fierce devotion to what they believed Mandalore could become. And in their legacy, the echoes of ambition and destiny continue to resonate through Mandalorian lore. 33. House Kryze. Balancing the fierceness of clans like Vizsla stood House Kryze, a lineage marked by diplomacy, wisdom, and grace. Their crest, the elegant owl, reflected their connection to clarity and insight. House Kryze sought harmony not by denying Mandalore's warrior roots, but by guiding its strength toward unity and peace. Under Duchess Satine Kryze, the house became a beacon of calm amid turbulent times. She believed Mandalore could rise above conflict and chart a new path defined by compassion. Her sister, Bo-Katan, walked a different road, embracing the warrior's mantle while fighting to preserve their people's honor. Together, their contrasting journeys revealed the many facets of Mandalorian identity, and in the quiet space between their ideals, Mandalore's future shimmered, fragile, hopeful, and forever shaped by the choices of House Kryze. 34. Clan Wren. Among the many clans that shaped Mandalorian culture, Clan Wren stood out for blending artistry with warrior tradition. On the world of Crownest, their snow-covered strongholds rose from icy cliffs, like shimmering sculptures carved by winter winds. The Wrens practiced combat with the same precision and beauty they brought to their paintings and armor designs, believing that creativity and strength were two sides of the same flame. Members of Clan Wren carried themselves with quiet dignity, their armor often adorned with elegant, hand-painted patterns unique to each warrior. Sabine Wren, one of their most famous descendants, carried this legacy into the stars, turning her art into a symbol of rebellion and hope. And through the Wrens, Mandalore remembered that expression, like courage, can shine brightest in the darkest times. 35. Clan Eldar. In the shadows of Mandalorian history, Clan Eldar moved like whispers carried on cool evening winds. Their sigil, often depicted as a stark, angular shape, reflected their preference for subtlety and observation. They were warriors, yes, all Mandalorians were, but they were also scouts, strategists, and quiet guardians who watched the horizon with steady, discerning eyes. Clan Eldar rarely sought the spotlight. Instead, they offered their strength through careful planning, keen intuition, and a deep understanding of Mandalore's shifting political currents. During times of upheaval, they stood as steady pillars, advising, guiding, and stepping into battle only when absolutely necessary. Their voice was calm, their presence reassuring, and though their name may not echo as loudly as others, it hums steadily through Mandalorian lore, a reminder that strength often lies in silence. 36. The Armorers and Forge Keepers. Among all Mandalorian roles, few are held in as much reverence as the Armorers, guardians of ancient knowledge, keepers of flame, and teachers of the Creed. In dim forges lit by glowing coals, Armorers shaped not only metal, but the very spirit of their people. Each swing of the hammer carried intention. Each plate of Beskar held centuries of tradition. To the Mandalorians, the forge was sacred, a place where worries fell away beneath the rhythmic pulse of metal meeting metal. Young warriors came seeking guidance, and armorers offered wisdom through stories, rituals, and gentle reminders. This is the way. They preserved history not in books, but in armor passed from one generation to the next. And in the warm halo of the forge's light, Mandalorians found clarity, purpose, and the quiet heartbeat of their enduring culture. 37. The Ritual of Foundlings. At the heart of Mandalorian culture lies a tradition both tender and profound: the ritual of caring for foundlings. These children, discovered in the chaos of war or the quiet corners of forgotten worlds, were welcomed not as strangers, but as future members of the clan. Warriors knelt before them with gentle reverence, offering warmth, protection, and the promise of a life shaped by purpose. Foundlings were raised with patience, taught the Rezulnare, and guided in the arts of both peace and battle. Many remembered the first time a Mandalorian placed a hand upon their shoulder, whispering reassurance through the cold metal of a helmet. In that moment, they belonged, and as they grew, the love that saved them burned softly within, a flame that helped light the future of Mandalore itself. 38. Mandalorian Weddings. A Mandalorian wedding is not a lavish spectacle, but a quiet celebration woven with deep meaning. Beneath starlit skies, or inside the hushed glow of a forge, two warriors stand side by side, their armor gleaming gently in the soft light. They exchange vows not with grand speeches, but with promises spoken calmly, often in Mandoa. Words meant only for each other, and the ancestors listening in the silence. Together, they forge a small piece of Beskar or exchange a crafted token, symbolizing unity and shared strength. Friends and clans gather around them, offering blessings through songs or stories from old campaigns. Laughter drifts through the air like warm embers floating upward. And when the ceremony ends, the couple walks forward not as two warriors, but as a single shield, bound by devotion and the quiet courage of companionship. 39. The process of armor inheritance. In Mandalorian tradition, armor is not just worn. It is inherited, preserved, and cherished like an heirloom, carrying the voices of generations. When a warrior passes on, their armor is carefully dismantled, cleaned, and prepared with soft, deliberate hands. Every scratch is honored, every burn mark remembered, for each imperfection tells a story of courage and sacrifice. The pieces are then reforged for the next wearer, sometimes a child of the clan, sometimes a foundling chosen by fate. As the plates are shaped anew, the armorer whispers quiet blessings, guiding the Beskar toward its next purpose. When the armor is finally placed upon the new warrior, it settles like a gentle weight of memory. And in that moment, past and future meet, united in metal, in tradition, and in the unbroken legacy of the Mandalorian spirit. 40. The role of the Alorad. In every Mandalorian clan, there is one figure who stands as the steady center, the Alorad, or clan leader. This role is not granted by birthright alone, but by trust, wisdom, and the quiet strength to guide others through both peace and storm. An Alorad listens more than they command, watching over their people like a guardian perched upon a high ridge, surveying the horizon for danger or opportunity. They are responsible for settling disputes, protecting the vulnerable, and keeping the ancient traditions alive. During battles, their presence becomes a calming force, a beacon that reminds every warrior that they do not march alone. Around evening fires, they share stories that root the clan in its past and illuminate the path ahead. And in their steady leadership, the Mandalorians find unity, a shield stronger than any made of Beskar. 41. Battle songs and hymns. Though known as fierce warriors, Mandalorians have long held a deep love for song. Not loud anthems, but low, resonant hymns that drift through the air like warm currents of memory. Before battle, voices join in harmony, blending into a single sound that vibrates through armor plates and settles softly in the heart. These songs are filled with history, victories remembered, losses honored, and promises whispered into the stars. Children learn the earliest melodies before they can wield a training blade. Elders teach verses passed down from clans long gone, ensuring that no memory fades into silence. Even during moments of grief, Mandalorians turn to song, not as sorrow, but as a way of honoring life. The music comforts, strengthens, and reminds them of their shared purpose. And as the final note lingers, it carries with it the quiet reassurance that no warrior walks alone. 42. Mandalorian festivals. Despite their history of conflict, Mandalorians cherish times of celebration. Days when clans gather beneath open skies, or glowing dome lights to honor the joys of survival and unity. Festivals often begin at dusk, when lanterns are lit along walkways and children run between stalls selling crafted trinkets, warm pastries, and small tokens of good fortune. Warriors set aside their armor, wearing simple wraps and painted cloths that reflect the colors of their clan. Musicians play soft rhythms on hand-carved instruments, while storytellers recall ancient heroes and long-forgotten myths. At the heart of each festival is a moment of remembrance, when the people raise their voices to thank the ancestors who carried them this far. And as night deepens, laughter echoes across the dunes or through dome-lit streets, a gentle reminder that even a warrior people need time to simply live. 43. Traditional Mandalorian cuisine. In the quiet corners of Mandalorian homes, far from the roar of starships and the hum of jetpacks, meals become moments of warmth and grounding. Traditional Mandalorian cuisine is simple, hearty, and shaped by centuries of survival on a world both unforgiving and beloved. Broths simmer slowly over low heat, filling rooms with comforting aromas. Spice stews, roasted game, and fresh flatbreads bring families together around modest tables where laughter mingles with the soft clatter of bowls. One of the most cherished dishes is tinjalar, a fiery stew said to warm even the coldest nights beneath the dome cities. Another favorite is brie kazi, a savory cheese often shared between travelers returning from long journeys. These foods are more than nourishment. They are tradition passed from one generation to the next. And in each warm meal, Mandalorians taste the resilience and love that bind their people together. 44. Training in the ways of combat. From a young age, Mandalorians learn that strength is not born overnight. It is shaped through discipline, patience, and the steady rhythm of training. In open courtyards or beneath the soft glow of enclosed domes, young warriors practice footwork on smooth stone floors, their movements guided by elders whose voices carry calm wisdom. Training is never harsh for cruelty's sake. It is a dance of repetition and discovery. Children learn to respect their weapons, to move with intention, and to breathe through challenges. Older warriors refine their skills through sparring sessions that emphasize focus over force, clarity over anger. And always, there is the reminder that true strength lies not in victory, but in balance. As the sun dips low or artificial lights dim, practiced movements slow into meditative patterns, and another generation carries the Mandalorian spirit forward with quiet determination. 45. The iconic T-visor helmet. Few images in the galaxy are as instantly recognizable as the Mandalorian helmet with its stark, elegant T-shaped visor. Its design is both practical and symbolic, a shield against danger, a window into discipline, and a silent reminder of the creed. When a warrior dons their helmet, the world narrows into clarity. Distractions fade, focus sharpens, and the heart beats in steady rhythm with the mission ahead. The visor's shape is said to evoke the gaze of ancient protectors, a lineage stretching back to the earliest days of Mandalorian history. Each helmet is unique, customized with personal markings, colors, or subtle scars gathered across years of service. Though the face remains unseen, the soul of the warrior shines through their actions. And as the visor reflects starlight or the soft glow of a forge, it carries forward the quiet power of Mandalore's unbroken legacy. 46. Beskar smithing techniques. Deep within the glowing heart of every Mandalorian forge lies the ancient art of shaping Beskar, a metal as enduring as the people who cherish it. The smithing of Beskar is a slow, almost meditative process. The metal resists ordinary flame, requiring special furnaces fueled by rare minerals and tended with unwavering patience. Armorers heat it until it glows like a small captured star, then fold, hammer, and temper it with gentle, deliberate strokes. Each strike is purposeful, never rushed. The sound of metal meeting metal rings through the forge like a soft chant, echoing generations of knowledge passed from master to apprentice. As Beskar cools, its surface darkens to a serene silver gray, smooth and strong enough to withstand blasters, even the edge of a lightsaber. And in each piece crafted, history settles quietly into the metal, ready to protect the next warrior who will carry its legacy. 47. The creed of "This is the way." Among all Mandalorian traditions, few words hold as much quiet power as the simple phrase, "This is the way." More than a motto, It is a compass, a reminder that one's path is shaped not by convenience, but by honor, loyalty, and the wisdom of countless generations. The creed is spoken softly, often exchanged between warriors in moments of reflection or resolve. It is invoked when choices must be made, when fear must be faced, and when the spirit needs grounding. To follow the way is to live with discipline, to value community, and to carry one's duties with dignity. The phrase flows like a calm current through Mandalorian life. It is a reassurance in troubled times, a blessing in peaceful ones, and a quiet promise between clanmates. And when those words are spoken, even the stars seem to listen, honoring a tradition that endures despite every storm. 48. The importance of found families. Although Mandalorians honor bloodlines, their greatest strength often comes from the families they choose. The ones built through trust, loyalty, and shared purpose. Found families form when warriors support one another through hardship, when travelers offer companionship, or when children are adopted as foundlings into clans that become their forever home. These bonds run deeper than genetics. They are forged in moments of danger, celebrated in moments of joy, and reaffirmed in the quiet spaces between missions. Around dinner tables, in the warmth of communal halls, or during long journeys across the stars, found families become a source of comfort and stability. To the Mandalorians, love is not spoken loudly. It is shown through protection, sacrifice, and unwavering presence. And in these chosen bonds, they find the true heart of their culture. Unity born not from obligation, but from devotion freely given. 49. Warriors on the move. For much of their history, Mandalorians lived as nomads, warriors who understood that home could be a planet, a ship, or simply the company of one's clan. Their camps were small but efficient, built beneath the glow of alien moons or nestled among jagged rocks on distant worlds. As dawn approached, they packed everything with practiced ease, leaving behind only faint footprints and the soft echo of extinguished fires. Life on the move taught them adaptability. Children learned to read changing skies. Adults mastered survival skills shaped by shifting landscapes, and elders shared stories that reminded everyone that Mandalorians were not defined by a single place, but by the spirit they carried within. And so their wanderings became a quiet dance with the stars, each journey carving a new chapter into the galaxy's vast tapestry. 50. The significance of the Mudhorn, Shriek Hawk, and Mythosaur Mandalorian armor often bears symbols. Creatures chosen not for fearsome appearance, but for the meaning they carry. The Mudhorn represents perseverance, a creature that charges forward despite overwhelming odds. Warriors who wear its sigil honor their battles. Through adversity, triumph earned through grit and patience. The Shriek Hawk, sharp-eyed and swift, symbolizes vision and precision. Clan Vizsla embraced it as their emblem, its wings echoing the clarity with which they pursued their goals. And then there is the Mythosaur, the greatest symbol of all. Its towering skull adorns banners, armor plates, and ancient carvings representing the heart of Mandalore itself. Strength, courage, destiny. Together, these symbols form a quiet language of identity. A warrior's chosen emblem whispers their story long before they speak. And in those silent crests, the soul of a people reveals itself, steadfast, proud, and eternal. 51. The forging of the Darksaber. Long before the Darksaber became a symbol of leadership, it began as a quiet act of creation by Tare Vizsla, the first Mandalorian Jedi. In the serene halls of the Jedi Temple, he shaped a weapon unlike any other. A blade as dark as the void, edged with threads of white light. Its hum carried a softer tone, as though blending Mandalorian strength with Jedi clarity. The darksaber reflected Tare's dual identity, warrior and peacekeeper, Mandalorian and Jedi. It honored his heritage while embracing his new path. After his passing, the blade was sealed away, but Mandalorians felt its absence like a missing heartbeat. When it was eventually reclaimed, the galaxy stirred. For the darksaber was more than a weapon. It was a story, a legacy, a promise waiting to guide Mandalore's future. And in its glowing edge, the next era of destiny began to shimmer. 52. Tara Vizsla's legacy. Tara Vizsla remains one of the most remarkable figures in Mandalorian history, a bridge between two worlds often seen as opposites. As the first Mandalorian ever inducted into the Jedi Order, he carried with him the honor of his people while learning the serenity and discipline of the Force. His presence among the Jedi was a quiet testament to possibility, that strength and peace need not be enemies, but companions walking parallel paths. His life inspired generations who came after him. Some saw him as a symbol of unity, others as proof that Mandalorians could shape destiny far beyond their homeland. Even centuries after his passing, his teachings lingered like soft echoes in the archives, reminding listeners that identity can be both rooted and evolving. And with every retelling of his story, Tara Vizsla's legacy glows like a lone star, guiding Mandalore through time. 53. The darksaber as a symbol of rule. Through eras of conflict and calm, the darksaber transformed from a simple weapon of unique design into the most revered symbol of Mandalorian leadership. To wield it was to carry the weight of history, to stand not only as a warrior, but as one chosen to guide the clans. Leadership by right of victory was not founded in cruelty, but in a belief that the one who could claim the blade in honorable combat possessed both courage and destiny. The darksaber's obsidian blade cut through darkness with a soft, pulsing glow, reminding its bearer that power is both a gift and a burden. As different rulers claimed it, some noble, some misguided, the blade absorbed their triumphs, failures, and hopes. It became a chronicle carved in light, shaping Mandalore's trajectory across centuries. And each time it changed hands, the galaxy seemed to pause, sensing the shifting future of a people bound by legacy. 54. Darth Maul's claim to the saber. When Darth Maul seized the darksaber, Mandalore entered one of its most turbulent periods. Maul was not Mandalorian by blood, yet his victory in single combat earned him the right to lead according to ancient custom. His dark presence cast long shadows across Sundari's luminous halls, and the throne, once a symbol of unity, trembled beneath the weight of his ambition. Yet even in darkness, Mandalorian resilience persisted. Some clans resisted quietly, others openly defied their new ruler, but all felt the gravity of the moment. Maul's rule was marked by turmoil, yet it also revealed something vital. That Mandalorian identity is not determined by the one who sits upon the throne, but by the countless warriors who refuse to let their spirit be extinguished. And as Maul's grip tightened, Mandalore's true strength, its people, began to prepare for the story yet to unfold. 55. Bo-Katan's first rise to leadership. In the wake of Mandalore's turmoil, Bo-Katan Kryze stepped forward, a warrior shaped by loss, loyalty, and the complex history of her people. Unlike her sister Satine, she embraced the warrior's path, but carried with her a quiet longing for unity. Under flickering lights and amid echoing halls, she rallied those who sought to reclaim Mandalore's dignity from the shadows that had swallowed it. Bo-Katan's leadership was not born from ambition, but from responsibility. She understood the weight of every decision, the lives entrusted to her, and the legacy she hoped to restore. Her voice carried strength, yet her heart held compassion, a rare blend in a time of chaos. And as she stepped into her role, the clans felt a flicker of hope, like dawn breaking gently across a wounded world. 56. Sabine Wren and the Darksabers return. Far from Mandalore, among the stars of the Outer Rim, the Darksaber found a new guardian, Sabine Wren. Young, brilliant, and burdened by a past she sought to understand, Sabine discovered the blade in a season of searching. When she ignited it for the first time, its black light shimmered against her painted armor, illuminating her journey toward forgiveness and purpose. Sabine's training with the Darksaber was filled with quiet struggle. The blade felt heavy with history, too heavy, at first, for her heart to bear. Yet as she practiced, each swing steadier than the last, she found strength not from conquest, but from self-acceptance. She carried the blade not to rule, but to unite. And through her courage, the Darksaber returned to Mandalorian hands once more, carried by someone who understood the power of choosing one's own path. 57. The passing of the blade. The Darksaber's journey from warrior to warrior is one of Mandalore's most enduring stories. A tale of lineage that spans centuries. Each time the blade is passed on, it marks not only the rise of a new leader, but the evolution of Mandalorian identity itself. Some earned it through fierce combat, others through quiet trust, and still others through sacrifice that spoke louder than any duel. To receive the blade is to inherit more than metal and light. It is to accept a mantle woven with joy, grief, triumph, and burden. Those who take it feel the presence of Tara Visla, the whispers of clans long gone, and the hopes of generations yet to be born. And each time the Darksaber changes hands, the galaxy seems to hold its breath, waiting to see how the next chapter of Mandalore's destiny will unfold. 58. The Din Djarin era. With the fall of empires and the scattering of clans, few expected that the next bearer of Mandalore's legacy would be a quiet bounty hunter who walked with steady purpose and spoke only when necessary. Din Djarin, a foundling shaped by loss and compassion, stepped into Mandalorian history not through ambition, but through honor. His life was a tapestry of silent journeys, dusty horizons, and bonds forged where no one else dared to look. When the Darksaber came into his hands, it felt less like triumph and more like a question whispered by destiny. Din carried it with humility, wary of the weight it placed on his path. Yet he traveled onward, guided by loyalty, love, and the teachings of the Creed. And in his quiet footsteps, Mandalore found a new kind of hope, one rooted not in conquest, but in character. 59. The Child and the Creed. Beside Din Djarin walked a small, mysterious child with eyes full of ancient light, Grogu. The bond between them began as necessity, but soon blossomed into something deeper, woven with trust and gentle affection. Though Grogu was touched by the Force, he was also embraced by Mandalorian tradition, finding comfort in the steady rhythms of Din's presence. Their companionship softened the edges of the Creed, revealing its heart, protection, loyalty, and unconditional care. As Din carried Grogu across barren landscapes, through bustling ports, and into the quiet of starlit deserts, he learned that parenthood was its own kind of battlefield, one fought with patience and love rather than steel. And in the small coos and curious gazes of the child, the Mandalorian saw a future where the creed could grow kinder, guided by tiny hands and a brave spirit. 60. The reforging of Mandalorian unity. After decades of scattering, Mandalorian clans began to stir once more, drawn together by the shared longing to rebuild what had been lost. Across distant moons and hidden outposts, warriors answered ancient calls carried through word of mouth and quiet signal flares. They gathered in secret chambers, in lonely caverns, and in abandoned settlements reclaimed from time. These meetings were filled with both tension and tenderness. Old wounds resurfaced, but so did old loyalties. As stories were exchanged and helmets lowered in respect, Mandalorians remembered that unity was their greatest strength. The task ahead would be difficult, but rebuilding always begins with a decision to stand together. And as the clan banners unfurled once again, rippling softly in the desert wind, the promise of a renewed Mandalore shimmered like dawn, breaking over a long-forgotten horizon. 61. The silent watch of the armorer. In the hidden coves and shadowed tunnels where scattered Mandalorians rebuilt their strength, one figure stood like a beacon of steadiness, the armorer. Draped in gold-accented helm and cloaked in quiet dignity, she tended to the forge with a grace that made every movement feel almost sacred. Her voice, calm and measured, carried wisdom older than the walls around her. She guided warriors not through command, but through gentle questions and ancient teachings. To many, she became a mentor, a historian, and a steady flame in a galaxy that often felt cold. Every strike of her hammer echoed the traditions of their ancestors, shaping not only metal, but the spirits of those who sought her counsel. And as she watched over her people, the promise of Mandalore's return glimmered softly in the forge's warm, flickering glow. 62. The covert tradition. After the fall of Mandalore, some clans chose to survive by vanishing into secrecy, forming hidden communities known as coverts. These sanctuaries were tucked into forgotten corners of the galaxy, beneath bustling cities, inside abandoned mines, or in remote valleys known only to the stars. Mandalorians of the covert moved quietly, speaking softly, and appearing only when absolutely necessary. But within those hidden chambers, life persisted. Armor was repaired in dim light, foundlings were raised with care, and rituals continued as if nothing in the galaxy had changed. The coverts became havens where the creed could endure unbroken, untouched by the storms raging beyond their walls. And though their presence was invisible to most, the Mandalorian spirit lived fiercely within them, strong, steady, and waiting for the right moment to rise again. 63. The meaning of taking off the helmet. For some Mandalorian sects, particularly those shaped by ancient doctrine, removing one's helmet was more than a simple act. It was a moment of profound vulnerability. Behind the visor lay identity, emotion, and truth unshielded by Beskar. To lift the helmet was to let someone see the soul beneath the armor, to share trust deeper than words. This custom was not universal across all clans, but for those who held to it, the rule symbolized unwavering devotion to the way. It reminded them that strength comes not from the face one shows, but from the values one carries. Yet even among the most devout, a quiet understanding lingered. Sometimes love, loyalty, or need would call for choices that challenged tradition. And in those rare moments when a Mandalorian revealed their face, the moment felt sacred, a fragile breath of honesty beneath the endless stars. 64. The rebirth of Mandalore's homeworld. After years of silence and ruin, a quiet determination began to stir beneath Mandalore's ashen surface. Warriors, wanderers, and families long separated felt the pull of their ancestral world, a soft whisper carried through memory and myth. When they returned, they found a planet wounded yet waiting, its plains shimmering with the fragile possibility of renewal. Rebuilding did not begin with grand structures or bold declarations. It began with gentle steps across familiar ground, with hands brushing the pale sand and with small acts of care, clearing rubble, reclaiming caverns, lighting old forges. Every spark of flame felt like a heartbeat returning to life. And slowly, Mandalore's quiet strength emerged once more. A reminder that even scarred worlds can rise again when touched by hope and unity. 65. The mines beneath the city. Deep. Beneath Mandalore's surface lay the ancient mines, vast, cathedral-like caverns carved by time and devotion. Once bustling with miners, forge keepers, and glowing rivers of molten ore, the mines eventually fell into silence as war scarred the world above. Yet the echo of their history lingered in the shadows, waiting patiently for the return of those who remembered. The mines were more than a source of Beskar. They were places of reflection, where the rhythmic drip of water and the distant hum of shifting stone created a music older than any clan. Warriors would descend into these caverns to clear their minds, to seek guidance, or to feel the grounding presence of the planet's heart. And when the Mandalorians finally returned, the mines welcomed them like an old friend, unchanged, enduring, and ready to help forge the future. 66. The Mythosaur, beneath the deep. Among the many legends whispered across Mandalore's long history, one stands brighter or deeper than all the rest. The tale of the Mythosaur sleeping beneath the planet's ancient waters. Some believe the creature had vanished with time, its massive form lost to myth. Others felt its presence lingering like a soft tremor beneath their feet. When signs of the Mythosaur's stirring reached those courageous enough to descend into the depths, awe filled their hearts. To face such a being was not a call to battle, but a reminder of Mandalore's origins, a reminder that the spirit of the world was alive, immense, and watching. The Mythosaur's quiet awakening hinted at a new era, one rooted in the oldest truths of Mandalorian culture. And in the stillness of those deep waters, destiny seemed to open its eyes. 67. The Rite of Redemption. For Mandalorians who faltered in their duties or strayed from the creed, the path back was paved not with judgment, but with quiet reflection. The Rite of Redemption offered a chance to step forward anew, to shed the weight of past mistakes and return to the way with renewed clarity. Warriors seeking redemption often traveled alone, their footsteps echoing softly across Mandalore's ravaged plains or through corridors of forgotten strongholds. The ritual commonly ended at the living waters, where ancient words were spoken and the planet's history seemed to listen. As a warrior lowered themselves beneath the shimmering surface, they felt the world envelop them, cleansing not just the armor, but the spirit beneath it. And when they emerged, droplets glistening like tiny stars, they carried with them a peace found only in humility, courage, and the unbroken promise of the creed. 68. The New Age of Foundlings. With Mandalore slowly rising from ruin, the people turned their hearts once more toward the future. And nothing represented that future more tenderly than the foundlings. These children, gathered from war-torn worlds and lonely corners of the galaxy, were welcomed into clans with open arms and softened hearts. Their presence reminded warriors that survival was not enough. The culture had to live, breathe, and grow. Foundlings learned the basics of the creed in warm communal halls, their small voices echoing ancient words with hopeful sincerity. They trained gently, guided by patient hands, never rushed into the harshness of battle. Many clans shared the belief that each foundling carried a spark capable of shaping Mandalore's destiny. And as laughter filled training yards and tiny footsteps pattered through quiet corridors, the Mandalorians understood that their future was bright, carried in the arms of those they chose to protect. 69. The songs of future generations. Through all the wars, migrations, and rebirths, Mandalorians have preserved a tradition as delicate as it is enduring: the songs of future generations. These melodies, sometimes nothing more than soft hums or whispered verses, are created not for battle, but for comfort. Parents sing them to soothe restless children. Elders recite them during festivals. Warriors murmur them beneath their breath before difficult journeys. Each new generation adds lines of their own, weaving hope and memory into gentle rhythms that drift through dome-lit streets or across quiet deserts. The songs hold dreams of peace, unity, and worlds where armor is worn by choice, not necessity. Their harmonies gather like stardust, small, bright moments that soften even the hardest hearts. And as these songs rise into the night sky, they carry a promise that Mandalore's story will continue, sung by voices yet to come. 70. The path ahead for Mandalore. As Mandalore slowly stitched its wounds and reclaimed its name, a quiet question lingered in the air. What comes next? The future stretched before the clans like a vast horizon painted in soft hues of dawn. No single leader, clan, or creed could shape it alone. Instead, Mandalore's future rested in the shared hopes of its people: the wanderers returning home, the warriors seeking unity, and the children dreaming beneath starlit domes. The path ahead was not paved with certainty. It was built moment by moment, through compassion, courage, and the gentle willingness to learn from old mistakes. Mandalore's strength would grow not from conquering the galaxy, but from rebuilding itself piece by piece. And as the twin moons rose over the recovering plains, the future glimmered softly, full of promise, patience, and the quiet resilience of a people ready to begin again. 71. Strength through unity. Throughout Mandalorian history, unity has always been the strongest armor, a truth learned through both triumph and sorrow. When clans stand together, their differences become strengths, like plates of Beskar interlocking to form an unbreakable shield. Unity does not require complete agreement. It requires trust, respect, and the understanding that every voice adds something vital to the harmony of the whole. In times of crisis, Mandalorians have returned to this principle, gathering beneath shared banners and lifting one another through hardships. A lone warrior may be formidable, but a united clan becomes a force felt far beyond Mandalore's sunlit plains and shadowed caverns. Even in quiet moments, a shared meal, a communal forge, a song rising beneath the night sky, unity reveals its gentle power. And in that togetherness, the Mandalorians find their truest strength, not in armor or weapons, but in each other. 72. Honor without hubris. To Mandalorians, honor is a guiding star, steady, bright, and unwavering. But honor without humility becomes a burden, heavy and misaligned. Through centuries of conflict and growth, Mandalorians learn that strength must be tempered by reflection, and victory must be balanced with understanding. True honor lies not in proving superiority, but in acting with integrity even when no one watches. Warriors pass this lesson to foundlings through quiet example, helping a clanmate lift a heavy crate, offering a hand to a wounded stranger, or choosing restraint over anger. Honor thrives in these small, unseen moments. It shapes character gently, like a slow tide smoothing stone. And in every warrior who walks with calm purpose, Mandalore is reminded that humility is the silent companion of greatness, a whisper that steadies the heart and sharpens the spirit. 73. The balance between warrior and protector. Throughout Mandalorian history, there has always been a quiet tension between two callings: the instinct to fight and the duty to protect. A Mandalorian is a warrior, yes, but not for conquest alone. Their strength is meant to shield the vulnerable, defend their clan, and uphold the creed that gives their life purpose. Over time, this balance became a gentle lesson whispered from mentor to apprentice. A warrior's heart must be strong, but even stronger when it chooses peace. Children learn this truth not through lectures, but through stories of heroes who fought only when they had to, and protected even when it was difficult. The greatest victories were often the ones that preserved life, not ended it. And in that delicate balance between blade and compassion, Mandalorians discovered the quiet honor that guides their path. 74. The Mandalorian wayfarers, scattered across the galaxy, are Mandalorians known as wayfarers, wanderers who travel not in search of war, but in search of purpose. Their ships carry only essentials: a bedroll, a modest set of tools, and a small keepsake tied to home. They drift from world to world like soft comets, offering protection to settlements in need, aiding travelers lost in the wilds, or simply observing cultures older than their own. Wayfarers believe that understanding the galaxy is as important as defending it. They share stories around campfires, trade lessons with distant communities, and teach foundlings to see beauty in the unfamiliar. Their journeys rarely make it into official records, but their quiet deeds ripple outward in subtle, meaningful ways. And when they finally return home, they bring with them wisdom gathered like stardust, gentle reminders that even in vastness, connection lives everywhere. 75. The echoes of Mandalore across the stars. Even during times when Mandalore lay in ruin, its culture traveled far beyond its borders. Across cantinas, smuggler routes, hidden outposts, and crowded markets, whispers of Mandalorian courage and tradition moved like wind through hyperspace lanes. People spoke of warriors whose armor gleamed like starlight, of clans who never abandoned their own, and of a creed that endured even when worlds fell. These echoes shaped the galaxy's view of Mandalorians, not as conquerors, but as a people bound by loyalty, honor, and quiet resilience. To many, the mere sight of a T-visor helmet brought a sense of safety, or at least a sense that justice had arrived. Mandalorians became living legends, their presence carrying the weight of myth as much as history. And in every whispered tale, Mandalore's spirit traveled onward, alive, remembered, and forever wandering beneath the stars. 76. The Mandalorian Scholars. Though many imagine Mandalorians only as warriors, there have always been scholars among them. Quiet thinkers who studied history, language, philosophy, and the mysteries of the galaxy. These scholars traveled between clans, collecting stories etched into armor plates, carving runes from ancient strongholds, and preserving chants whispered around fires long extinguished. They believed that knowledge was its own form of strength, one that could steady the heart as effectively as any blade. Within dimly lit archives or small hidden rooms high above the plains, they sorted fragments of Mandalore's past, piecing together truths forgotten by time. Their work ensured that even during the planet's darkest hours, its legacy remained intact. And in every scroll, datapad, or preserved relic they touched, the scholars kept Mandalore's memory alive, steady as a candle flickering in a quiet room. 77. The pilgrimage to sacred sites. Across Mandalore and its surrounding moons, there are sacred places where the air seems to hum with the echoes of ancient footsteps. Warriors, elders, and families sometimes embark on gentle pilgrimages to these sites, not as tourists or conquerors, but as seekers of peace. These journeys often take days, winding through soft dunes, silent ravines, or the shimmering plains beneath pale blue skies. At each site, travelers pause to reflect. Some meditate beside stone monoliths carved with clan symbols. Others light small lanterns in honor of loved ones, or sit quietly beside shallow pools where the surface reflects the stars with perfect clarity. These pilgrimages are not about reaching a destination, but about listening to the land, to history, and to the quiet voice within. And as each traveler returns home, they carry with them a gentle stillness, a reminder that even warriors need places of calm. 78. Mandalorian views on the Force. While not all Mandalorians wield the Force, their relationship with it is rooted in curiosity, respect, and practicality. Many see the Force not as something mystical, but as another thread woven into the galaxy, a current that touches every living being in ways both subtle and profound. Some clans believe the Force chose Terra Vizsla for a reason, marking the Mandalorians as a people whose destiny would always brush against its flow. Warriors speak of instinct, intuition, and clarity in battle, qualities they sometimes attribute to the Force, even if quietly. Others regard it with distance, believing that fate should be shaped by choice, not by unseen power. Yet when Mandalorians encounter Force wielders, they often respond with a calm mixture of caution and honor. And in their quiet reflections, they acknowledge a simple truth. The Force, like Mandalore, endures, mysterious, powerful, and ever-present. 79. The Mandalorian Code of Hospitality. Despite their reputation as fierce warriors, Mandalorians hold a deeply rooted tradition of hospitality, a quiet duty to offer shelter and safety to travelers in need. When a stranger approaches a Mandalorian camp, the first response is not suspicion, but a warm bowl of broth and a place to sit near the fire. Guests are treated with dignity, their stories welcomed like gentle breezes drifting across the dunes. This custom stems from the old nomadic days, when survival depended on mutual kindness beneath harsh skies. A traveler might one day become a friend, an ally, or a protector in return. Mandalorians understand that compassion can be as strong as armor, a shield that guards both giver and receiver. And in these simple acts of care, the galaxy sees a softer truth, that even the fiercest cultures carry hearts capable of great gentleness. 80. The art of Mandalorian storytelling. Storytelling holds a sacred place in Mandalorian life. Around evening fires or within warm, echoing halls, elders share tales that weave history, legend, and wisdom into soft, mesmerizing rhythms. Mandalorian stories are rarely exaggerated. Instead, They are quiet reflections on triumph, loss, and the enduring spirit of the clans. Children sit with rapt attention, their helmets resting beside them as they listen to tales of ancient heroes, wandering wayfarers, and long-forgotten battles. Adults absorb deeper lessons, reminders of loyalty, courage, and humility. Every story carries a fragment of truth, like a shard of Beskar shaped into something meaningful. As the embers glow and shadows dance along the walls, storytellers lower their voices, letting each word land with calm precision. And when the tale ends, silence sweeps through the listeners, peaceful, thoughtful, and full of the quiet strength these stories inspire. 81. Mandalorian Children in the Learning of the Way. For young Mandalorians, childhood is not rushed. It is a gentle unfolding, guided by patient hands and steady voices. Children begin by learning simple values, helping one another, honoring their clan, and treating each tool with respect. They run through training yards with laughter echoing beneath the sky, their small boots kicking up dust as mentors guide them with kindness rather than strictness. When they are ready, they start learning the basics of survival, how to track footprints in soft soil, how to read the stars, how to cook a simple meal for a clanmate in need. Combat techniques come later, introduced slowly, like a dance taught one careful step at a time. And through it all, the creed surrounds them like a warm cloak, shaping their hearts long before they learn to wear armor. In these early lessons, the future of Mandalore quietly takes form. 82. The ritual of painting armor. For many Mandalorians, armor is more than protection. It is a canvas for memory. Before a warrior steps into battle or embarks on a long journey, they often take time to paint their plates with colors that speak softly of heritage, hope, or healing. Some choose hues handed down through their clan, while others paint symbols that reflect personal triumphs or lessons learned in silence. This ritual is done slowly, often at dusk. A warrior kneels in quiet reflection as pigments glide across the cool surface of Beskar. Each brushstroke becomes a moment of stillness, a reminder that identity is shaped as much by intention as by history. Sometimes, a friend or a child will assist, adding a small flourish or mark that carries love. And when the armor dries beneath the fading light, it glows with meaning, a story worn proudly into the rising dawn. 83. The Mandalorian Healers. Though the galaxy often imagines Mandalorians as warriors above all else, their society has long honored those who mend rather than fight. Mandalorian healers work with quiet precision, tending wounds with practiced hands and steady hearts. Their craft blends traditional remedies with modern medicine, using salves made from native herbs, compact medical tools, and calming words spoken in a soothing cadence. Healers view each patient not as a soldier, but as a soul rooted in clan and community. They sit beside the injured through the long hours, offering warmth, nourishment, and stories that ease the mind while the body recovers. Some forges even keep dedicated healing chambers, warm, dim rooms where wounded warriors can rest in peace. And in those tender spaces, where pain lifts like dust on a gentle breeze, Mandalorians remember that strength is found not just in battle, but in care freely given. 84. The Night Watch Traditions. During long journeys or times of rebuilding, Mandalorians often set up rotating night watch shifts. Quiet vigils kept beneath star-filled skies or within softly lit domes. The purpose is not merely protection, but reflection. Warriors stand or sit in silence, listening to the wind sweep across the plains or to the faint hum of distant machinery. Night watch is considered a sacred duty, a moment to embody the balance between vigilance and peace. Some meditate, others clean their armor, and a few whisper old songs to pass the hours. The stillness brings clarity, reminding them of why they fight, what they protect, and who waits for them back home. And when dawn finally brushes the horizon with gentle gold, the watcher steps aside with a calm heart, knowing they safeguarded not just their clan, but the quiet serenity of the night itself. 85. The Mandalorian respect for nature. Even though Mandalorians are known for metal armor and humming jetpacks, their respect for the natural world runs deep. Long ago, their ancestors learned to survive the wilds of Mandalore, a land of shifting sands, towering cliffs, and creatures strong enough to challenge even the bravest warriors. Over time, Mandalorians developed a quiet reverence for the balance of nature, understanding that every ecosystem, no matter how harsh, held wisdom. During long journeys, warriors often pause to observe the landscapes around them. They note the direction of the wind, the behavior of small animals, the patterns of clouds drifting across the sky, all reminders that the galaxy is alive with subtle guidance. Some clans plant small flags or tokens before leaving a site, offering thanks to the land for its shelter. And as they travel beneath twin moons or blazing suns, Mandalorians carry with them a simple truth. Harmony with nature is a strength all its own. 86. The Mandalorian art of camaraderie. Camaraderie is the quiet heartbeat of Mandalorian culture. Whether gathered around a fire, repairing armor, or sharing a silent lookout, Mandalorians form bonds forged through shared experience rather than words. Laughter often rises softly between them, not loud or boisterous, but warm, steady, and genuine. These moments of connection weave clanmates together like threads in a sturdy tapestry. Training sessions end with soft pats on the shoulder. Meals are enjoyed with calm conversation. Even during missions, a simple nod or glance through a visor can speak volumes, carrying reassurance or trust without a single word spoken. Mandalorians rarely express affection openly, but their actions reveal everything. A shared canteen, a repaired jetpack, a hand offered during a stumble. And in these small gestures, warriors find strength not from solitude, but from the comfort of standing together. 87. The Mandalorian architects. Though Mandalore is often associated with war, its architecture tells a more layered story, one of artistry, precision, and deep cultural pride. Mandalorian architects design structures that blend resilience with breathtaking elegance. Domed cities that shimmer beneath the sun, quiet halls lit by soft blue glows, and strongholds carved seamlessly into cliffsides like sculpted stone. Each building reflects a philosophy of balance. The shapes are clean and geometric, the materials strong yet beautiful, and the interiors peaceful in tone, offering calm spaces where warriors can rest and families can gather. Architects study ancient designs, preserving the aesthetic of their ancestors while adapting to modern needs. Their structures often include communal rooms, meditative chambers, and wide walkways where the breeze can flow unhindered. And as cities rise once more from Mandalore's recovering surface, the architect's work becomes a gentle testament. That beauty, like Beskar, can endure even after fire and ruin. 88. The Mandalorian Starfarers. For as long as anyone can remember, Mandalorians have been drawn to the stars. Explorers guided by instinct, curiosity, and the quiet pull of distant horizons. Their ships glide through hyperspace like silver arrows cutting across endless night, leaving behind faint trails of blue that shimmer like drifting dreams. Starfarers learn to read the hum of their engines as if listening to an old friend, each vibration telling them how far they've traveled and how far they still have to go. These wanderers visit forgotten moons, remote stations, and worlds untouched since ancient times. They map safe passages for their clans, mark hidden refueling spots, and gather knowledge that strengthens Mandalore's connection to the galaxy. Nights spent aboard their ships often bring peaceful reflection, the kind found only when one is wrapped in the quiet embrace of starlight. And with each journey, Mandalorians carry a simple truth. Home is not always a place, but the path one walks beneath the stars. 89. Mandalorian Mercy and Justice. Though Mandalorians are known for their fierce discipline, their concept of justice is built upon fairness rather than cruelty. Mercy is not weakness to them. It is clarity. Before a verdict is made or a conflict escalates, Mandalorians often pause to understand context, intent, and consequence. A warrior who made a mistake out of fear or confusion might be guided back to the way rather than punished. Clan leaders weigh decisions with steady hearts, often consulting elders or mediators to ensure wisdom prevails. When justice must be delivered, it is done with calm resolve, not anger. Mercy is offered when it can be, because Mandalorians know that strength without compassion turns hollow. Their approach echoes a quiet belief. Every life, even a troubled one, carries the potential to return to balance. And in that tempered sense of justice, Mandalore protects not only its people, but the integrity of its spirit. 90. The Mandalorian Friendship Bonds. Friendship among Mandalorians looks different from the loud camaraderie found in many corners of the galaxy. Their bonds grow through shared silence, shared danger, and shared purpose, a weaving of loyalty that seldom requires spoken affirmation. A friend is someone who stands beside you when the skies break open, who watches your back without question, and who understands your story even when words fail. These friendships often last lifetimes. Warriors who trained together as children remain close well into adulthood, their armor bearing matching scratches earned side by side. Others forge bonds later in life, finding kinship in unexpected places. A shared mission, a repaired ship, a simple meal eaten after a long journey. And though Mandalorians rarely express affection openly, their actions speak softly and clearly, in loyalty, in sacrifice, in standing together without hesitation. In these friendships, the beating heart of Mandalore finds its warmest rhythm. 91. The Mandalorian Pilots. Among the stars, Mandalorian pilots glide with a grace that feels almost instinctive. Their ships, forged for precision and speed, respond to their touch as if recognizing an old companion. Many pilots begin their training at a young age, learning how to read the subtle shifts of a vessel's engines, how to navigate by starlight alone, and how to feel the delicate balance between thrust and drift. In battle, these pilots are formidable, streaks of movement carving through the void with unwavering purpose. But outside of conflict, they fly with a calmer rhythm, enjoying the simple serenity of open space. Some describe it as meditation, the hum of engines blending with the quiet breath of hyperspace, creating a moment where the galaxy feels still and endless. And in those drifting, peaceful flights, Mandalorians discover freedom, a reminder that the sky, too, is a kind of home. 92. The Clan Archives and Memory Keepers. Hidden within fortified chambers and softly lit halls, clan archives preserve the memories of Mandalore's long and winding journey. These spaces are tended by memory keepers, gentle custodians who gather history not with urgency, but with patient reverence. They collect stories from elders, preserve recordings from long-lost clans, and safeguard relics that carry whispers of ancient times. Visitors move through the archives with hushed footsteps. They pause before holograms showing the faces of ancestors, read inscriptions carved by hands long turned to dust, and feel the weight of legacy settle around them like a warm cloak. The memory keepers guide them softly, sharing tales that illuminate not only triumph, but also tragedy and tender resilience. And as these stories are passed forward, Mandalore's soul remains intact, a tapestry woven through time, protected by those who honor its every thread. 93. Mandalorians in times of peace. When peace finally touches Mandalore, even briefly, it brings a quiet transformation. Streets once shaped by urgency fill with gentle sunlight. Markets bloom with vibrant colors. Families walk without armor, sharing simple meals and unhurried conversations. Children chase one another across courtyards, while elders sit together, recounting gentle memories instead of war stories. In these peaceful periods, Mandalorians rediscover parts of themselves often overshadowed by conflict. They return to art, music, crafting, and gardening. They build homes rather than fortresses, raise animals, harvest crops, and gather for festivals that celebrate life rather than survival. Peace softens their voices, broadens their smiles, and strengthens their sense of community. And as they breathe beneath the clear skies of a quiet world, Mandalorians remember something profound: that they are not defined solely by battle, but by the bonds, joys, and dreams that flourish when the galaxy finally falls silent. 94. The Mandalorian way of letting go. Among Mandalorians, strength is often seen not only in holding on, but in knowing when to release what no longer serves the heart. Letting go of grief, of old wounds, of battles long ended, is considered an act of quiet courage. Elders teach that clinging to the past, like a closed fist, can weigh down even the strongest warrior, while acceptance creates space for new beginnings. This letting go is practiced in small rituals: a warrior placing a stone upon a memorial, whispering a farewell to the wind, or polishing a scratched armor plate until the pain behind it softens. Sometimes it means stepping away from a fight. Other times it means forgiving oneself. And as Mandalorians breathe out what burdens them, the world around them seems to settle too, peaceful, open, and ready for the next chapter of their path. 95. Mandalorian night markets. When darkness falls across rebuilt settlements and domed cities, Mandalorians often gather for night markets, lively yet calming gatherings illuminated by lanterns that cast warm halos across the streets. Stalls line the walkways, offering hand-forged tools, painted armor plates, woven cloth, and spiced pastries that fill the air with comforting aromas. Children weave between the lights like small comets, laughing as they chase flickering shadows. Musicians play gentle rhythms on stringed instruments, their melodies drifting like soft breezes that soothe the heart. Elders sit together, sipping warm drinks while sharing old tales, their voices blending with the murmur of the crowd. Warriors browsing the market move slower, their helmets reflecting lantern light as they pause to admire handmade trinkets or exchange quiet greetings with friends. And in these glowing gatherings, Mandalore feels alive again, not with the fire of battle, but with the tender spark of community. 96. The Mandalorian sense of time. Mandalorians do not measure time solely by hours or days. Instead, they feel it through moments. The birth of a foundling, the forging of a new armor plate, the first sunrise after returning home. Their calendar is shaped by seasons of rebuilding, cycles of migration, and the milestones that define each warrior's journey. Time moves slowly during years of peace, stretching like golden light across quiet plains. During war, it condenses into heartbeats, decisions made in seconds that echo for generations. Elders remind the young that time itself is a teacher, patient, steady, and always whispering that nothing lasts forever. Not sorrow, not strife, not even the deepest night. And so Mandalorians learn to walk gently through each season, honoring the past, embracing the present, and trusting that the future will unfold when it is ready. Like dawn blooming across the sky. 97. The Mandalorian art of patience. Patience may seem like an unlikely virtue among a warrior people, yet for Mandalorians, it is one of the quiet pillars of their strength. From the steady rhythm of forging Beskar to the careful training of foundlings, patience teaches them that rushing leads only to imbalance. A warrior must be calm in the face of uncertainty, deliberate in every motion, and thoughtful before every choice. This patience is learned over years. In the long hours of waiting during night watch, in the measured steps of tracking across open plains, and in the silent understanding that not every battle is won quickly. Older Mandalorians remind the young that storms eventually pass, wounds eventually heal, and truth always reveals itself in time. And as they breathe deeply beneath the endless sky, Mandalorians discover that patience is not stillness, but strength, a quiet readiness for whatever comes next. 98. Bonds between clans. Though Mandalorian clans each hold their own customs, banners, and histories, they are bound together by ties deeper than any feud. These bonds stretch across generations, carried through shared struggles, interwoven marriages, and alliances formed on battlefields long reclaimed by sand. When one clan calls for help, others answer, not because they must, but because unity remains the beating heart of their culture. Clan gatherings are moments of deep connection. Warriors clasp forearms in greeting. Storytellers exchange tales from distant sectors, and children mingle freely, wearing colors different from their own, yet treated like kin. Even clans that once clashed find common ground in the shared desire to protect their heritage. And as banners ripple together in the desert wind, Mandalorians remember a truth older than any conflict, that a people divided may falter, but a people connected, even loosely, will always endure. 99. The Mandalorian outlook on destiny. Destiny, to the Mandalorians, is not a fixed road, but a horizon, something seen, pursued, and shaped through choice. Warriors are taught that fate does not bind them. It invites them. Each action, each vow, each step taken beneath the weight of armor contributes to the path they walk. Even the smallest decision can ripple outward, altering not only their story, but the story of their clan and homeworld. They believe destiny is discovered through living with integrity. Some find it in the raising of a foundling. Others uncover it through leadership, sacrifice, or quiet acts of compassion. And some, like Tara Vizsla, Din Djarin, or Bo-Katan, stumble into it unexpectedly, guided by courage rather than certainty. And in every Mandalorian heart lies the gentle understanding that destiny unfolds like a sunrise, slowly, beautifully, and in its own time. 100. The Eternal Flame of Mandalore. At the heart of Mandalore's oldest legends lies the symbol of an eternal flame. Not a literal fire, but a quiet belief that the spirit of the Mandalorian people can never truly be extinguished. It represents every clan that rose from ruin, every foundling who found a home, and every warrior who chose honor over fear. Even when Mandalore fell into silence, that flame lived on in scattered hearts across the stars, glowing softly beneath Beskar plates and behind T-visors. Today, as the world heals and its people reunite, the flame burns brighter than ever. It reminds Mandalorians that identity is not a place, but a bond, a living warmth carried from one generation to the next. And as this final ember glows gently in the darkness, it whispers a promise. Mandalore endures. Its light will always return. And now, as our journey through Mandalore's history comes to a gentle rest, let the quiet strength of these stories linger in your dreams. May the echo of Beskar, the warmth of clan hearths, and the steady courage of the Mandalorian people bring peace to your thoughts and calm to your breathing. If these sleepy tales helped you drift into the stars, feel free to like, subscribe, or share which corner of the galaxy you'd love to fall asleep to next. There is always another legend, always another night beneath twin suns waiting to welcome you home. Whenever you're ready to continue dreaming, tap the end screen to begin your next peaceful voyage. A soft glide through lore, mystery, and the ever-gentle hum of the Force. Rest well, traveler. The night is yours, and the Force will guide your dreams.